My name is Tana Blazer. I'm a marketing instructor currently entering into my third year of teaching at the Career Institute of Technology located in Easton, Pennsylvania. What we're going to go through now is autism learnings of what I see in my classroom, in a CTE classroom. I don't know if some of you are aware, but in a CTE school, there tend to be a lot of children with learning disabilities that come. It's more of a supportive environment. I believe it's a safer space to them. That's what I'm seeing. Um, it's definitely in those realms. So I probably have about a quarter of my classroom. So I have 25 students for each of my periods, and I have two periods that are long block scheduling. Um, I would say about a quarter of them have an IEP or some kind of disability. So we're going to start with the definition. So, pulling this from Autism Speaks. So, autism spectrum disorder describes a wide range of developmental conditions that may impact how people communicate, interact socially, and process the world around them. While some individuals might communicate through speech, others may use nonverbal methods or assistive tools. I am very lucky into my classroom that all of my students with the different disabilities, they are able to communicate through speech, some of them more clearly than others, and some very expressive. And autism looks so different for every person. There's no single way it appears or is experienced. That's why the range, that's why the spectrum. And I forgot, I should have written notes on, I think it's DMS-5 with the recent, some of the changes that have appeared recently all on that. There's no, in that. So you'll see that some autistic people have intellectual disabilities and require significant daily support. Others have different learning styles and live fully independent lives. You'll hear about me. I'm going to talk about two of my students. One has a gifted, not only with the autism, but is also gifted. So there's a whole other world. So he can live an independent life if he can control his behavior. What's most important to remember is that every autistic individual has unique strengths, perspectives, and challenges. And my gosh, because I am in a creative class, their perspectives add so much depth and volume to what we're working on, and the challenges that they express, it really adds to that. Because I think marketing and advertising, all of it, there's a complexity to it. There's different nuances, and having these different perspectives really challenges my classroom and challenges them. In addition, so signs of autism, they usually begin to show around age 2 or 3, with a formal diagnosis often given at 5. All right, so I'm going to tell you why I chose autism in the next stage. And it wasn't just because it was the easiest thing. And what we're focusing on this week in class, it's more layered than that. Again, you heard me talk about being a CTE teacher, that I came from the field. I was a marketing professional. I was a marketing director. I'm experienced in working in corporate environments. That's where I was. That's where I thrived. Disabilities, they just were not discussed, or if they assumed that people had. Maybe an adult with ADHD was prevalent, but there were no SDIs for us on how to install them in the workplace. So I picked autism for the two students that I have learned the most from, and I'm going to talk about them. Bianca and Kellen, they really taught me, they shaped me, they helped me understand so much. Working with Bianca, my bestie, I wish she didn't graduate. I wish she was with me until she was 21. I wanted her, I begged her, because that's how much I wanted her in my classroom. She showed me how confidence and consistency grow through trust and routine. She hated me at first. I came in after a teacher 2 years ago. She would do work avoidance. She would go to the nurse, and then one day everything changed. And she changed me, and she made me better. Colin brought something very, very different. So smart, so creative. He has this emotional depth with his occasional, he's volatile. He can be. So if transitions were abrupt or feedback felt harsh, his reaction could be very strong, even explosive. What I learned wasn't just how to de-escalate. It was more than that. It was how to anticipate, how to adjust my tone, how to offer structure without judgment. We would have, if I saw him respond in a way, I would set him apart. I would be like, Kellen, come here, we just need to talk really quick. I go, what I go, what, that the way that you responded, I'm just trying to help you. You need to remember that. They just didn't receive instruction. They really shaped it. They shaped what I was doing in real life. When I was talking to one of my friends who is a special education administrator for BASD for Bethlehem Area School District, as I was talking about this class, and I was asking, I was like, okay, so this class is to help. Like when I first started, I had no clue. Anything really about IEPs, SDIs, all of that. How is the best place to learn? Is it instructionally in this class? She's like, well, you're going to learn instructionally, but what really happens, it's what happens in the classroom. And that's what she told me. And, I spend a lot of time with actually her son, and he has ADHD and learning. I feel like I go, I know his SDIs. I know how to get to Jack and help him along with that. So it's really interesting, some of the things that I'm learning from here and then learning through conversations with other professionals in the education field, especially with special education. So what they really taught me how to listen more closely, respond more thoughtfully, and embrace flexibility without lowering expectations. I never lowered my expectations with Bianca or Kellen, always challenged them. And guess what? They challenged me, and they just made me a better teacher. And that's why I want to talk about them within this. And this is why I chose the autism spectrum disorder. So onto the characteristics page of that. So autism spectrum disorder includes a range of characteristics that vary significantly between individuals. So let's talk about social communication impairments. So students with autism, they may struggle with initiating and maintaining interactions, interpreting nonverbal communication like facial expressions and gestures. Kellen, one of my students, is really hard. That is hard for him. And we talk about that. We talk about sarcasm because I'm very sarcastic. And he goes, sarcasm, right? But we've built that relationship that he can stop and do that. Sometimes the challenges can lead to isolation if not proactively supported in the classroom. That is more of a problem with Kellen, not with Bianca. There's something about Bianca that I think the whole classroom kind of fell in love with her. Restricted and repetitive behaviors and interests. So individuals may engage in repeated movements, speech patterns, or fixation on topics of objects. And we'll talk about what Bianca's was. They could be behaviors as hand clapping, the one where they repeat the words, I cannot pronounce that. So sorry, earn insistence on routines. We're going to go echolalia. Hopefully I said it right. We might not have. Can be comfortable or severe regulatory function. So especially when they're in unfamiliar environments, I found out how being in an unfamiliar environment or being around unfamiliar people can actually set my students off. On that. It could be atypical language development, communication abilities vary widely. Some students may use advanced language. For example, Kellen absolutely does. Bianca, on the other hand, does not. And she does have some problems with speaking. That's part of her IEP. Some things may include delayed speech, pronoun reversals, intense focus on a narrow topic. Problem behaviors such as self-injury and aggression may emerge when students are unable to communicate their needs effectively or when they feel overwhelmed. Kellen really falls within that one. These behaviors really have a communicative function, and with the right intervention, such as positive behavioral support, which is definitely outlined very well in Kellen's IEP, they can be meaningfully reduced. Things like sensory and movement disorders too. They may experience heightened or reduced sensitivity or sounds, textures, lights, or movement. We're lucky in my school, there is a place where students can go as request, and they have open to do that so they can take away some of that sensory, from, oh my gosh, a gravity defying chair. I forgot what it's exactly called. But these sensory differences can influence both behavior and communication. Intellectual functioning. Autism can be present in individuals with a wide range of cognitive abilities. Some have intellectual disabilities, while others may be gifted. So we see that. I see that exactly. It's amazing to see the range the range of them. So in some cases, students really may exhibit savant abilities, showing extraordinary talent in areas of music or math. I see that. it's so interesting, and it's so amazing to see in some of the students. So I did want to show you a little bit of Bianca and Kellen. We talked about it a lot on the previous slide, but so looking at the social communication, so Bianca is very direct to communication that the students really appreciate. They really like her. Kellen needs more help reading on those social cues. Often he doesn't capture their social cues when students have reached a limit of him, because he can get to that limit. And it's him and I talking, him and I figuring it out. What are the ways, seeing what those cues are and doing that. Like I said, with you're being sarcastic. And I'd be like, yep. He's like, but he knows that's my behavior. Repetitive behaviors and interest. Bianca is a WWE fan. Rhea is her person. So with that, and Billie Eilish is also her musical muse, and she loves her. So we would often talk about that. If I needed to change things up in class for her, it was, okay, let's go talk. I mean, I loved pretending to be a wrestler. That was my thing. I loved it. I would pretend, and I would have so much fun with her. She would be like, oh, Mrs. B. But because she would have to speak publicly, and I would like, okay, this is how I want you to come into the classroom. We're going to shut the lights off. I'm going to have everybody get on their phones, and we're going to do the flashlight, and you're going to come in, and you're going to be like screaming about that, because she was doing a campaign for Rhea. So, for Rhea. And but that was where her interests were. So things like printing out pictures of her, coloring them, doing different designs. So that was her. Kellen's was more predictable rituals, just kind of aided in emotional regulation. Language development, so slight speech impediment, but she speaks proudly and shares candid feedback. I mean, she'll tell you when she's not happy, but again, it was very appreciative. Kellen is so smart. He's expressive in his writing, and actually in his IEP, it's like, and we joked about it. He's like, yeah, I'm not allowed to write a paragraph. I have to write 3. And he just shaped by some like emotional logic. Problem behavior. Once Bianca had my trust, there was rare disruptions. Just refocusing, because if she's on watching WWE on her computer, it'd be like, hey, you're supposed to be working on this. Let's go. Problem behavior with Kellen is a little more volatile. It's occasional outburst when routines shift. Notice that it was really about the routines, or feedback is given. So in that, like I said, he can get violent. Sensory movement and sensitivity. So she was really responsive to structured task flow. That's how Bianca was. Kellen was pure noise and pure tone may trigger reactions. If it's something that's not said in the right way, he can get really upset. And then I'd have to talk him down. So calm, restored, thorough movement. And then intellectual functioning. So she was capable and hardworking. She showed so much pride in her work. She would be like, I have autism, and the rest of these guys are normal. And that is what she would say. And I was like, oh, Bianca, you're so funny. And I go, yes, you do an amazing job with your work. I am so proud of you. And that you get it done. You get things done on time and hit deadlines. And Kellen, he's gifted. He's so smart. He just needs emotional support with an academic challenge. So challenge him to do different things because he finishes his work quickly. So I had to provide more challenges in his way to get it done. So I was like, how could you do better? How could you do that? So here are going into the instructional strategies. With Kellen, I want to do some real world. So cognitive behavioral intervention. So what it really does, supports emotional regulation by reframing reactions to difficult feedback. So it also helped us build a lot of trust and encourage changing it through conversations. We talked a lot privately. Be like, okay, I'm not hurting you. So what I gave him through reframing, I reminded him that we are all human. We all make mistakes. There is no way that you can be perfect. He is so smart, but there is no way that anybody that smart can be that perfect. That's just not possible. So we would help him regulate, return to his work, and then get it with some renewed focus, because he would just like ball up a paper, or he'd be like, oh, and be angry with the feedback that I gave him. And I was like, you can't act like that, bud. I go, if this is a workplace, because this is what it's supposed to mimic, you can't do that. Instructional strategy, the next instructional is modeling. So really want to talk about Bianca. So really showing her how to complete a task, connecting the learning to their personal interest. Absolutely. I mean, I had to learn about WWE and wrestling, Rhea, Billie. I mean, I love Billie Eilish already, but I had to learn a lot more about Billie Eilish. And that. So the model I used, so if I had to build a campaign, like if she had to build a campaign and she had no idea where to start, no idea where to go, I go easy. Easy. Who do you love? What do you love? And then we would get this. And you already heard me talk about it. I would pretend to be, this is how I want you to go in and talk to the class, other things like that. So it really created a meaningful, it motivated her. She wanted to work on this. So utilizing the repetitiveness of that to work within the classroom. It was great. It was fun. It brought liveliness. So utilizing her interest and knowing it, it was great. Next, it's touching base with peer-mediated instruction. So it really leaning through peers. It's one of my favorite things. I believe in group work because in the workplace, it's all about group work. And if that's what they're doing, and I'm teaching a marketing class, what I really did, I tried to match Bianca with students that were trusted classroom leaders that knew that I have to be very specific in the direction that I'm going to give her. So Bianca, I need you to work on slide 5, and slide 5 we're going to include this, and then Bianca would have it done in 5 minutes, and then add to it. So keeping that, she really thrived on that one-on-one peer setting with those clear expectations. But if she was placed in the wrong group, and sometimes it does happen, she would avoid the work, or if the person wasn't as trusted by her, she would walk around. So I had to be very careful in who I did that with, and I noticed that a lot and made those adjustments. She has to feel secure to help her stay engaged. Otherwise, she's just like walking off and blah, she doesn't care. The next is response interruption to redirection. So this is about Kellen. So gently interrupting repetitive behavior, really redirecting his attention to be productive on task. He can go off task a lot. So one of the things he would do is when Kellen, he rocks back and forth, I would just gently, I'd be like, hey, Kellen, hey, what's up? Tap him on the shoulder. And then I would ask about what he's working on, because he's typically staring at the screen and he has like something really ingenious going on. He has clever copywriting skills, and he always made me laugh because he knows his teacher's a little weird and quirky. So he would do that. He knows never to use Comic Sans, because to me, Comic Sans and design is a big no-no. So he would do it all in Comic Sans, bring me over. Like if I was coming over, I go, Kellen. And when I would tap him, I was like, he's like, I know, I'm just messing with you, which is good. So we're building that. So, but then I would ask him, I was like, hey, what are you working on? And he would tell me, and he would get really excited. And so getting and talking about that work would get him back on track and into that and redirecting that. But that is probably too long of a video, and I have no idea how to shorten it for you guys. But wanted to talk, I will do the voiceover on that. But thank you for listening. Attached, you'll see the references, and they're common references that I'm pretty sure all of you guys used a little bit. So thank you so much. And this is a whole lot of fun.